Let me get this straight, just so my listeners, they want to make sure they heard this correctly. 42 days, one of the diets you tried for 42 days, it was just tea and water.
That was actually fasting, yeah. It's not that I wanted to beat Jesus. That's the thing. If so many people fast and do it wrong. So like I have all these different journals here. I'm journaling for everything. And when I fast, for example, I really sit down and I ask myself questions. Why do I fast? What should be the output? For who am I doing that? What could be a side effect? So I'm going into that and really be conscious of everything, my why, my how, my how do I start eating again? When do I start eating again? What do I eat when I eat again? And really sit down and think about that stuff a lot and write it down to be really clear on what I do and why I do it. And then I follow that strategy with awareness and know exactly, okay, I detox my body completely. All these parasites and bacteria that are not supposed to be in me, they're gonna die because they don't have any food anymore. So what's the result of that? So probably this is going to happen, and then this, and then this, and then the liver have too much to do and it can create headache and all this stuff. So once the things come, I can just mark it and say, I knew that's a possible side effect. It's normal. Or people come and say, hey, you should start eating again. You look really weak. Of course, I didn't eat for 3 weeks and all the trash goes out through my pores. Of course, I'm going to go through a phase where I probably look weak or look not the healthiest. But that's something I was conscious about. And I know exactly why I do it, what I do, how long I do it. And the funny thing is, for me, it was like a week to 10 days, hunger was gone, completely gone. I didn't have the desire to eat at all. And after 40 days, I asked myself, should I really start eating? I'm not hungry. I felt I was working out twice a day. In the morning, 6 o'clock, I went to the gym, do cardio. And in the afternoon, I go and do the weights. I experienced so many things that I thought gonna be the opposite. Everybody told me, you have no patience, then you're going to be mad and angry and irritated and you have 2 kids and be careful and blah, blah. I had never as much patience as then. I was fine with having 4 hours of sleep. I was Mr. Peace. I could meditate without problems, no distraction. I was so focused and all those things I experienced because I was conscious about it and not just doing it. And that's something I took over to everything when I do it. First, I write myself down, why am I doing it? How do I do it? And I need the purpose for it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Full TIMEOUT Podcast. I'm your host, Ari Bruckman. Joining us on the show this week is a very special guest. He was named to the top 20 entrepreneur list on Yahoo Finance for 2021 and has spoken in front of millions as a life coach and motivational speaker, and also as a former professional athlete. He has taken on starting businesses as young as 22 years old and has really dedicated himself to transforming the body and mind of everyone he works with. Again, he has been recognized on media platforms such as Fox News, MSNBC, Yahoo, and many more. Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest this week, Mr. Pascal Bachmann. Pascal, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
I like to do this to give people some background, but talk about, you starting up here, you start your first business at 22 years old. What was it for you that allowed you to realize you wanted to work for yourself and entrepreneurship was the way to go?
Actually, I wasn't sure if entrepreneurship is the goal or the way for me to go. What I was sure is I'm not made to be an employee. So the only way left is to be an entrepreneur. And it was basically just, I didn't feel comfortable to do things in different companies that didn't make any sense for me. I just needed to follow instructions, and my mind was just like, why don't they do it like this or like this? It will be more efficient, and they could save money, they could save employees, they could increase productivity and stuff like that. I worked in sales back then, and I just felt like there's no way for me to give the input in a way that they would listen, because I was a newbie, I was young, I was inexperienced, and therefore I suppose not to be one of the people that why should they listen to me, right? And this was the feeling that told me, okay, I need to change something, because this is not what I want to be. This is not how I want to work. Because back then, I just felt I wasn't consciously aware of my values, but I just felt like there's something wrong with the way I feel compared to everybody else. Later on, I realized, okay, it has to do with my values. But that was basically the start for me, that I told myself, okay, if you want things to change, you need to change. If you want to have your voice, you need to build something that you're able to speak out and just live the life you want to live in every area of your life. And that's why I started to look around and pretty early build my own businesses.
Pascal, I love that. I actually want to stay there for a second because I think that you brought up something that's really important. We talk a lot about it on the show here. I've had various guests talk about it, and it seems like that's kind of a pattern amongst people who have had tremendous success in their lives. And that's taking control of their own reality and really creating their own environment, whether it's at work, or trying to just start their own thing or going to the gym for the first time, whatever the case may be. It's that personal growth and that first step. How important was it for you? Because I know it wasn't all, beautiful days every day, right? How important was it for you to go through those rainy days, those really tough times, and just learn more about yourself and what it takes to be successful to kind of get you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think it was key for being where I am today. And I also believe that every single, not just entrepreneur, human being, go through phases where we just feel like nobody understands me. This is hard. I want it different, but how? All these questions. And the only way to push through that is taking action. And for me, it was really like it drives me. All those challenges, all those stones in my way. I had the choice. I mean, I grew up without parents. I was in an orphanage, you call that, and back then I did martial arts. I was involved in all the things that are forbidden, and I kind of needed to fight my way through it. And the way I personally try to get attention is by being the bad boy. Like I was the idol for so many people. Like they looked up to me because I punched people, and I just did all the things that you shouldn't do, and I got attention during that. And in the transition phase from being an employee becoming an entrepreneur, that was something that I already had within me to fight for the things that I want. I first did it for the things that you shouldn't probably do it, but the genetics or the drive to actually fight for something was, I think that was the plan for myself to where really everything started. And then during that way, I just believe strongly in that let's call it teenagers or young adults between 16 and 22, somewhere there, everybody faces that wall. And the question always is, are you giving up, or are you willing to step out of your comfort zone and actually do what you want by, like you said it, by creating your future? And it starts all up here. I remember back then I was involved in a company, and the highest position in that company was, I think it called X1. When I went into the company, we had a meeting and they asked me, where are you right now? What level are you? And my answer, I remember very well, was I'm X1. They all like, what are you talking about? You just saw it. I said, see, up here, that was one of the first questions I asked. What is the highest position? How many people reached it? And then I decided to do it because I knew how I am. And in my mind, I achieved it already. And this is, I believe, what we all have to do to actually achieve what we want to achieve, to visualize those things, to be clear, to have the clarity, to create the vision, and then to actually know who you are. So it's the vision, who am I? And then you are on mission with everything you do every single day, thinking, talking, doing, acting. So I believe that's very important to really have your personal breakthrough, which is different for every single one.
That's amazing. I mean, I really couldn't agree, more with you there. Yeah, I know we talked over the phone way before when we were kind of setting up the interview and we were kind of figuring stuff out. But I told you about, David Goggins, his philosophy and just where we're going right now as a society and how important it is to really, visualize your success, right? And to not let external factors, kind of create your reality, program you, and then ultimately, dictate how you're going to act, think, feel, live your life. Because then, how much are you actually living, right, at that point? So you brought up before, martial arts, and I wanted to get to this a little later, but since you touched on it, love to dive into that. How much of a role did that play? I know you talked about growing up in an orphanage. Did you feel like martial arts became an outlet for you? And was it something that you felt like you needed to continue to do throughout your life to kind of always remind you where you were and kind of, give you that edge?
I think it was a little bit of everything, to let anger out, all that stuff that's accumulating as a kid, as a teenager, and also searching for that authority in my life, for that mentorship in that area back then. Like my master back then, he was like a father figure. He was in Vietnam. He was world champion in different, like, when you break the stones with the head, I don't know how to call that in English, and fighting, 1968, I believe. So he came to Switzerland and built that martial arts school. And I just felt like this is a guy to follow, to listen, because it was not just martial art and to express myself in that art, but also I learned how to live life. I learned how to be a gentleman. I learned how to study. I remember so many examples that he was talking about, that I realized years later. One of the stories, I actually wrote a book in German, and one of the stories that I talk about there is, I remember when he said that he was teaching, we came all in, and he was standing there, black suit, and we had extremely respect from that guy. He was an older man, Korean, white hair, very wise, with his broken German. He was walking left and right, looked to us. And I remember he pointed to the kid beside me. He said, "You," I believe his name was Mike, "what do you want to be when you grow up?" everybody was quiet. Everybody was listening. And then the Mike, he stand up and bounced from him and was very nervous and said, Sabomnim, which means master in Korean, I want to be master just like you. And he was walking left and right again. And then he pointed to all of us and said, you are all masters already. You just have to find it within you. And we were quiet, thinking, and years later that came back to me. And I remember how many times I realized what he meant, that we actually, every single of us, every single person of us, we all have it. We all have what we want and what we need to become who we want to be within you. The question is just, how much are you willing to do for it? In education, in whatever it takes. And so I think it was a big part in many areas, and not just to let out anger, find balance, but as I said, to have a mentor and a guide on how to live life in a way that I should live it, in my opinion, and to be successful later. It was the foundation for me to actually have respect towards other people, to listen to advice, to actually implement it. And martial arts is a very good way for that, to learn the discipline that you need for every area in life if you want to achieve something.
Did you keep in touch with him? Did he ever get to see you do anything, kind of taste the beginning of success? I know, I believe you've had a 27-year career, but did he ever get that chance to see you? Did you ever get to have that conversation with him?
We sometimes catch up. We sometimes see each other. Yes. Right now I'm living in the US. He's in Switzerland still, I believe. Sometimes Korea, but in this crazy time, who knows where he is right now. But we catch up, and he see not just with me, but many of my friends how their growth were in different areas, and which is nice for him to see too. That it influences us, his students, in not just martial arts, but in every area of life, and that's something that we often talk about when we talk. It's not, I went to the European Championship. I was fighting for the World Championship. Then I lived in Thailand. I was a professional Thai boxer. I had all this. We never talk about this stuff. We always talk about life and business and growth and all this stuff, which is kind of interesting.
Definitely. As a young kid, when you were 22, but also, at other points in your life, this was someone who you valued and who, you kind of took on this idea of, okay, I kind of want to be like him when I grow up. And he's telling me what's possible, what's achievable. What was that first moment you realized that what he was saying was true?
I remember the first time when when I went there first, before I decided to become his student, I was young, and there was extremely respect because of all the authority that he had back then, world champion and all this stuff. And I remember when we went to the gym, it was just extremely, if it comes to respect, you come into the room and all this traditional stuff, and it was just impressive for me, because this was a part in my life that I never had because of the way I grew up. But I remember one time I had a street fight, and he told me to come to his office to talk to me because he heard about it. And this is when I was surprised when he got mad because I punched that kid with my elbow, and he really literally lectured me and told me how to react next time. And I was like the young kid, the rebel, and then my martial art teacher who teach me how to fight tell me not to fight. And this is where something like happened. I realized there's more. And later on, mainly if I break it down, I would say what I adopted first was the discipline to not just start something or say yes, but to actually do it until I'm done. To be reliable, to be respectful, to trust. All this stuff later that I found out are my values, like purpose, also harmony, all the things I kind of extracted from his teachings piece by piece. It was not a moment where I felt like this is it. Not that I remember. It was really a process, a long process, which happened by continually doing it and just do it every single day.
Yeah, repetition and creating that practice. That's awesome. So when you decided to start your own company with body and mind transformation, I know that you've talked about on your website when I was just doing some research, that you specifically have a different philosophy. There's a different approach that you take that's more, centered around not just physical and mental, but you find a way to kind of, you as you put it, you use both of them, right?
Right.
You kind of find that happy medium, and there's something different about your approach. What is it that separates you from other life coaches, and why has it been so effective for you throughout your career?
We learn how to break bones and we learn how to heal them. Many times, because back then we didn't have gloves and hat, and we punched. It was full contact, and he came from the war, and it was really tough back then. And often we see how he correct the bones that were broken when we fight and sparring and stuff. So we learn a lot about how to heal, what to do, how to eat, and all that stuff. And later I went into that when I went to Thailand. I actually had an accident and needed to stop my career. And after that accident, I went into the traditional hospital, Chinese hospital, and actually started to study there because I know I needed to shift my career. I was in the top 10 in martial arts, and then everything was gone from one day to the other. So I shifted my energy and all that. And my interest was definitely in health. And what I did then, when I went back to Switzerland, I opened a practice for Asian therapies, and I helped people to get healthier. They came and visit me with different problems. And what I realized during that time was it was like 95% of the people that came in with mental and physical problems didn't come because they ate wrong or they didn't move enough, didn't do sport. It was much more. The reason why they had strokes, heart diseases, migraines, diabetes, all those things were because they were working for a boss the last 20 years that they didn't like. They were living in a toxic relationship for 12 years and was afraid to leave the partner or talk to them. They lived a life that they actually didn't want to live, but they did it for somebody else. And all this stuff created those diseases. That's why I'm saying today, all these, or 95% of the problems of the health diseases out there are self-inflicted health diseases. They were produced by choosing the wrong lifestyle. It's a decision. And what I did during that time, what led me to body and mind transformation is I studied a lot of these studies, the medical studies, and I went in all these different diets and tried to find out what diet actually works and makes your body healthy. And I ended up reading 20 studies of the so-called best diet out there. The 12 that I felt like they really sounds good on paper. It makes sense. It's all logically. I decided to test them on myself. So during 12 years, I tested 12 diets, each diet 6 months on myself. So I was 6 months a vegan, 6 months vegetarian, 6 months ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, like all this stuff. I fasted 42 days with just water and tea, nothing else. Just all this stuff during 12 years. And I journal a lot and write all this stuff down. And after these 12 years, I made a conclusion and say, okay, which of the 3 diets do I think are the best? And in my opinion, best diets are ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, and the living life, which is a plant-based diet, because they were not produced by human beings to earn money. They are all evolution-based. So the question, and that's one of the main problems today, people go on Google, they put in their pain point, want to lose weight, want to tight, want a six-pack, want to this, that. And now they get hundreds or thousands of opinions. And all these opinions are based on experiences that have nothing to do with who I am. And that's a one-way communication, and it doesn't work. The only way to find the diet that actually fits me based on who I am, starting point, age, gender, past experiences, and so many things, that's only possible if there's a two-way communication. And that's why we created that quiz, to actually figure out what is fitting you based on who you are. And then the diet is not a diet, it becomes a lifestyle, because you don't have to change 80 or 90% of what you did the last 10 years for the 3 months that you actually want to produce a result. And then after 3 months, you get so tired, you fall back to who you actually are, because the diet was not fitting who you are as a person. So, and with that process, by doing that quiz, we narrow it down to find something that fits you as a person. And this is how I create a body-mind transformation. And then I implement a lot of stuff. It's not just diet. The diet produces the vehicle, your body, that is needed to be healthy in all areas of life. Everybody's hunting success and wealth. That's my PascalBachmann.com, health, success, wealth. Everybody's going for that. And I always try to remind people, make sure you reach your destination healthy, otherwise you won't be able to enjoy them. They all hunt for that one thing. And health is a very important part to produce the vehicle that you need. But you can also focus on being healthy in all 8 areas of life, which is health, career, personal growth, finances, or prosperity, family, relationship, hobbies, and spirituality. So all 8 areas need attention to be really healthy. So this is how I actually came to that program.
A lot to unpack there, definitely. But there was something that was really, really interesting. Let me get this straight, just so my listeners, they want to make sure they heard this correctly. 42 days, one of the diets you tried for 42 days, it was just tea and water.
That was actually fasting, yeah. It's not that I wanted to beat Jesus. That's the thing. If so many people fast and do it wrong. So like I have all these different journals here. I'm journaling for everything. And when I fast, for example, I really sit down and I ask myself questions. Why do I fast? What should be the output? For who am I doing that? What could be a side effect? So I'm going into that and really be conscious of everything, my why, my how, my how do I start eating again? When do I start eating again? What do I eat when I eat again? And really sit down and think about that stuff a lot. and write it down to be really clear on what I do and why I do it. And then I follow that strategy with awareness and know exactly, okay, I detox my body completely. All these parasites and bacteria that are not supposed to be in me, they're going to die because they don't have any food anymore. So what's the result of that? So probably this is going to happen, and then this, and then this, and then the liver have too much to do and it can create headache and all this stuff. So once the things come, I can just mark it and say, I knew that's a possible side effect. It's normal. Or people come and say, hey, you should start eating again. You look really weak. Of course, I didn't eat for 3 weeks and all the trash goes out through my pores. Of course, I'm going to go through a phase where I probably look weak or look not the healthiest. But that's something I was conscious about, and I know exactly why I do it, what I do, how long I do it. And the funny thing is, for me, it was like a week to 10 days, hunger was gone, completely gone. I didn't have the desire to eat at all. And after 40 days, I asked myself, should I really start eating? I'm not hungry. I was working out twice a day. In the morning, 6 o'clock, I went to the gym, do cardio. And in the afternoon, I go and do the weights. I experienced so many things that I thought gonna be the opposite. Everybody told me, you have no patience, then you're gonna be mad and angry and irritated, and you have 2 kids and be careful and blah, blah. I had never as much patience as then. I was fine with having 4 hours of sleep. I was Mr. Peace. I could meditate without problems, no distraction. I was so focused, and all those things I experienced because I was conscious about it and not just doing it. And that's something I took over to everything when I do it. First, I write myself down, why am I doing it? How do I do it? And I need the purpose for it.
That's absolutely incredible. So I'm going to piggyback off that for a second because I love that. For somebody right now who has a job, Pascal, and their fitness is great, right? They're taking care of themselves, they're eating the right things, and they're doing all this other stuff, but they're still going to a toxic environment every day. They still don't love what they do. They're still not surrounding themselves with people who are putting as much value into their life as they are into those other people's. And so over time, they still feel like they're really just, everybody's take. They give so much. They're not sure what they have left. What can you recommend to people who want to take a step in the right direction from there? And they're saying, I'm doing everything I think right, but obviously I'm not feeling great.
That's a very important point. It's like when you're in an airplane and something is wrong, they tell you to wear your own mask first and not the one from your kid. Why? Because if you passed out, you could have a problem. So it's so important to put yourself in that position first, to do something for you, self-love, to really, again, be conscious that you are the one who create the healthy business, personal growth. If you want to grow, produce the finances that you need for yourself to support your family, to whatever it is, to be here present and do things with your family, friends, and relationships, to live your spirituality, whatever it is for you. It always needs a healthy you. And the only way to produce that healthy you is by taking care of yourself first. And the recommendation I can give is to really, I'm a fan of I schedule everything. The first thing that I schedule when I start scheduling my year is my free time. It's not the tasks, the business goals, the vision, nothing. First, when do I have the me time? When do I go to the gym? When do I read? When do I meditate? When do I do nothing? When do I spend time with my wife or girlfriend? Or first me. And once that is set up, then I fill in all the other things. And you said a very important thing before, the environment and friends, and so many people are like, they come and take, and often we go into that position of give. Sometimes we have the feeling that we have to, because it's family, because this is what friends do, because all these excuses, which and for me, there are in the internet, you hear many things like, you have to get rid of your toxic environment, and if they don't go with if they're not in your tribe, then you need to turn back to them and get your way. Or see, if you have family and they don't get what you do, and usually nobody gets it, because we have a vision. If I have a vision, I see my goals, I have all these ideas, I'm never going to ask other people about that, because they don't feel and see what I see. What I do is I go to like-minded people and I share my ideas in a way, because they are visualizing stuff too. So they have an understanding for that frequency, for that energy level that I am. And if it comes to family and friends and they don't have that, these people are not bad people because of that. They just don't have the same frequency. So there's no reason to cut them off and say, kind of like, turn the back to them. I think that's not necessary. I think what is necessary is to first have the understanding and say, okay, there are probably two categories of human beings. The type of humans as similar to how I am, and then the other type, which are needed too. These people can be very good human beings, can be friends and family, and. I just need to know to who am I talking to. And if I'm talking to family and friends who don't understand what I'm doing business-wise, I shouldn't talk about it, because they have a different frequency, a different level, a different mindset. And that's what many entrepreneurs do. They think, my idea, my mindset, everybody needs to understand it. If they don't, I need to go my way. We can still spend time with them, but we need to know with who we spend the time with. And then they don't take away the energy, and we not always give. We can have normal conversation. We can have family time. We can go to the gym. We can go watch a movie. We can go whatever. But the majority of my time is I spend it with like-minded people who bring me forward. But it doesn't mean that the other type of people drag me down. It has to do with me and not with them. And that's the recommendation I can give, to really first take out your time, plan your day to invest in you, in whatever makes you feel good, and then select the people in a way that, okay, with this group, I'm going to talk about these topics because they pull me into the direction where I want to grow. And with these people, I just have different topics, and then all turns out good.
I think that's a great piece of advice. I think people can really, start to dissect that and find ways that they can identify with that. Especially, COVID, right?
Yeah.
COVID-19 has created a lot for a lot of people where they're stuck with people. And if you're living at home, right, and your family isn't people who maybe they support you, they love you, that's great, but they don't see what you see and they don't carry that same energy. I still think it's important to remember it's their dream, right? It's this person's dream. It's not the parent's dream. It's not their friend's dream. It's not their coworker's dream. It's their dream. And so they're the only ones who need to see it, believe it, revisit it on a daily basis, and really be the energy, provide that energy on a daily basis for them to get the most out of it. So I think that's really great. For you, Pascal, who was somebody that you think you kind of looked up to aside from your mentor for martial arts? Was there somebody else in life coaching that you kind of said, okay, this person's had a ton of success. Let me visualize me being in that position, and then, start to write that down. Was there anybody like that for you?
Several people. Yeah. I mean, I read book. One of the people, everybody in the US, of course, know him, Tony Robbins. I got a lot of advice, or a lot of things that I took out from him, because I kind of related to what he say, and the way how he expressed himself, even though I'm not the energetic guy, but the way he talk was not that academical language that I feel like everybody makes themselves so important. Or, for example, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, all these guys, they're really down to earth. They talk like you and me, and we can have a normal conversation. And if they use the F word, they use the F word, but they don't care. And these guys make billions or 500 millions plus. And these are guys that I really realized, like, hey, because I remember back then when I went to business, I went bankrupt at one time of my life, $15 million gone. I needed to restart. And I remember when I had my first interview with one of the big investors, I tied up, like I wear the suit and the tie and go in there. I thought this is what you do back then if it comes to business. And then these guys were like in the jeans and the t-shirt and the table, like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, am I at the wrong place? and they talked a lot about the big money and about I came with the business plan and prepared everything. And they was like, I don't need a business plan. I need your ideas. I need to connect with you. I need to feel how much you really want it. And that's the most important part for me before we start about anything, before we start talking about anything else. And I was kind of almost shocked back then, but these are the people that I actually later was looking up and read books about, like Tony, Grant, and Gary, or definitely three of them. Then I have some books here from Brian Tracy and just like the guys that probably a lot of your listeners listen to.
Yeah, I think you can almost listen to anybody, right? It's more, what are you looking for? Who are you most receptive to in terms of, their delivery, because they all have different approaches. Like you said, Tony brings, a lot of energy. Gary Vee brings energy, but there are some times where he's just extremely brutally honest and colorful in terms of language, for sure, man. And, so it just depends on what you're looking for. How do you feel like, you fit in then, in terms of like your approach? How do you focus your delivery? What is your audience, and how do you focus on catering to them whenever you're speaking across the world?
When I'm on stage, I have kind of two groups, two personas or two group of people that I serve. I empower businessmen to become healthy and successful leaders in business and life. So I talk a lot about the mental health and what it needs to really build that business, to have clarity, create a success, 6, 7, 8 figure businesses, how to scale and all that stuff. And then the other side is like I mentioned before, it's the healthy part. For me, I like to express myself on stage because I'm actually not like the big communicator. I don't like the small conversation, or when the small talk starts, I feel like, okay, how can I get out of here? I'm not that kind of I don't like to talk too much. And when I'm on stage, I can just say what I have to say and leave. And thousands, 5,000, 10,000 people listen and hear it, and then they follow up by email or go through one of my coachings or courses or whatever it is then. But I consider myself as more introverted than extroverted, and still the most important part for me is, and that's why I'm doing that, is to really give my experiences, my knowledge out to the world, to those people who want to receive it, who are ready to receive it on whatever level they are, to remind them that everything is about self-responsibility. I'm writing 2 books right now. It's a trilogy actually in English. The first book is a Irresponsible Society, which is all about how irresponsible the society is in all areas of life. It's everybody. Back then it was Obamacare. Now it's Trump or Biden. Now it's always somebody, but not myself. And that in all areas of life. It's my childhood, it's my finances, it's my family, it's the way I grew up, it's because my boss quit, it's because of politics, it's because of everybody, not because of me. And unless we change that, unless we're not able to really have the guts to stand in front of the mirror, look at ourselves and say, it's you, nobody else. Just like Michael Jackson's song started with the man in the mirror, it's me and nobody else. And if everybody would take that self-responsibility, even COVID now, if everybody would say, like, I take care of my body, I eat healthy, I meditate, I go to the gym, I do whatever it takes to be healthy, the whole situation would be different. But everybody's finger pointing. So that's about the Irresponsible Society. And then the second book is Health and Wealth. Can we have it all? I'm actually trying to get some of the guys in, like Grant or some of the other people to I want 2 or 3 stories at the end of the book from people who actually do that, and people like, for example, Grant Cardone. He goes to the gym, he takes care of his family, he takes vacation, it's not just the money and the sales. That's the side he showed the most. But he knows how important it is to be healthy in all areas, to enjoy the wealth that he created, not just for this generation, but for generational growth. And some other people. And then the third book, which will be probably in 2022, is the how to actually execute that and create that life.
I think you said it best. Your approach is to kind of give businessmen and to, educate people on your experiences and what you've faced and how you've overcome it, but also that they can realize that it's them that can make the change. Even if you gave them a book, right? Even if they read all your books, it does nothing to go to church, to go to synagogue, to go to temple, to go to, wherever you pray. It does nothing to just go there and not apply anything you learn. So, right. It's all about, taking that action and finding a way and saying, this is how I'm going to implement it, right? Create that plan of action. So it's not something that's just floating around, and be really intentional about it. So I love that, Pascal. Tell people, where can they find you if they want to, follow you, keep up with you, learn more about you?
Instagram, Pascal Bachmann _official, or Body and Mind _transformation on Instagram, or just bodymindtransformation.com and pascalbachmann.com. These are the platforms that I usually respond if something come in. One point to what you said before, I was just recently told my kids, my older daughter is 18 and the other one is 16, and I told them the same thing. They are in the phase of, okay, what do I work? What will I do for living? And their mother always tell them the traditional way, and I'm completely the opposite. I say, guys, you don't do anything that you don't like to do. And it's actually really easy. You just need to be brave enough to actually do it. You take a piece of paper, draw a line in the middle. On the left side, write down, where am I good at? Ask 5 of your friends, hey, what do you think? What is a talent that I really have? And the other side, write down, what could I do every single day for free because I just love to do it? And the top 3 of each side should be what you do for work, no matter what, because you're good at it and you love to do it. Because when people start working, this is like 70% of your life. You better love what you do every single day. You better find your purpose and love what you do every single day. Otherwise, your life going to be miserable. You're going to one day regret that you didn't live the life that you actually want to live. And the regret is the biggest poison. If this is what people did for centuries, and they even did studies, people on the deathbed regret for not doing what they actually want to do during the whole life is what people regret. And this is destroying. And it's not necessary. It's a joy. It's a choice, a decision that we can do. And that's why I believe it's so important to really, again, sit down and take the time for yourself to express your feelings, bring it on paper. If it's just here and here, we need to write it down and keep birth, like bring it alive, bring it on paper, read it, write it, feel it, and express ourselves for ourselves. That's how we create the life that we want to live, and it's on us.
That's amazing. And I love this quote. It's, a job is what you're paid for. Your calling is what you're made for. And obviously there's going to see, it sounds a bit cliche, right? But I think there is some truth to, you doing what you love, and not working a day in your life, and just finding ways to constantly improve yourself. What kind of impact do you want to have on the world and in your industry when it's all said and done?
I want to be remembered as a honest, authentic health expert who laid the foundation for many human beings to create the life that they deserve to live.
Pascal, thank you so much for joining me on the show. For, my audience appreciates your time as well. Guys, if you haven't had a chance to check out, either of his books, if you haven't had a chance to read up on him, visit his website, look into what he does. Take the time, seek it out. I'll post links in the video when I post this interview, that you guys can kind of just click down below here. But really take the time, sit down, write down what you're afraid of, why you're not pursuing what you want to do. And odds are it's not going to be that first thing you write down. That first thing you write down is going to be great. But dig deeper, figure out what's going to make it worth it for you to go after what it is you love to do. And talk about making this list that Pascal mentioned. Create, ask people. If you're unsure, ask the people you spend the most time with. Hey, what am I good at? What do you think, I bring in terms of value into your life that you think I can help others, on just so many levels. So find ways to create that change, be different, be unique, but, most of all, find ways to just do what you love and be yourself. Pascal, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate your time on the show, man. And, we wish you the best.
Thank you for having me, Ari, for you too, and all your listeners, all the best. Make the decision. It's worth it. It's worth it.